Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the scandal that has blown up over former Prime Minister David Cameron using his influence to lobby the current government in order to secure public money, reportedly corruptly, for himself and his associates. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So yeah, more Tory corruption. Who'd have saw that coming? Ever wondered why those who went to the top elite private schools like Eton always seem to do so well despite their obvious limitations? Sure, a private education means more teacher focus and will absolutely give you a boost academically. But our society is replete with academic underachievers who still made it to the big time. And I don't mean people who got lucky or found some other talent that wasn't academic, but they just consistently make it to the big time. What Eton and the likes gives you is not so much an education as contacts. It hooks you into the privilege network, otherwise known as the old boys network, that will mean that no matter how badly you mess up in life, the network will put you on your feet again. And it is these contacts that can plug you directly into the nation's coffers when the government is controlled by these upper class spivs. David Cameron, Etonian, goes to the government run by another Etonian and says, "I'd like a load of cash, please. Also, my mates would like a load of cash." Do they get told to get off their lazy arse and earn it like the poor sods working two jobs who still need access to a food bank to get by? No. Sit yourself down, old chap. Let's see what we can do for you and your pals. Like they say, too often in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Not that this is a direct consequence of elite private education, by the way. That's fine. It's a direct result of the fact that when it's revealed that this sort of thing has gone on, a minister of the Crown has corruptly awarded public funds to the old boys network instead of with the public good in mind. Nobody goes to prison. That's where this all goes wrong. If it was a criminal offence carrying an automatic prison term, it wouldn't be going on. But as I've said before, governments tend not to legislate to make their own dodgy activities a criminal offence, which is why Boris Johnson has been able to get away with the most outrageous behaviour since coming to power. So this particular scandal worked as they always do. David Cameron was a paid advisor to a company that has now apparently gone bust and was run by a guy who had attracted an awful lot of controversy due to dodgy dealings, Lex Greensill. Now, I'm perfectly prepared to believe that when companies pay former senior civil servants or politicians as advisors, that some are getting just that, advice. Almost certainly advice on how to get around things to give them a potentially unfair competitive advantage. I'm not saying the practice is fine, but advice nonetheless, and what you're going to do about that. But then you get situations like this. Cameron wasn't paid for his advice, but to plug Greensill capital into the Treasury for a trolley dash for our public money. Apparently wasn't working at first. Wasn't working. His attempt to secure funds was initially rebuffed, so Cameron emailed an advisor in number 10. He then arranged private drinks with Health Secretary Matt Hancock and Lex Greensill. Then, lo and behold, Greensill was granted an NHS contract, Boris Johnson's preferred form of corruption during the past year. Funnel money to mates and supporters and then just tell people it's an NHS contract to help with the pandemic. If it goes badly wrong and we don't actually get the goods or services that we paid for, which is going to happen quite a lot of times when we're giving it to our mates, we'll just say, well, you know, emergency, we had to act quickly due to the emergency and things were bound to go wrong, we've tried our best. Now, according to a report, someone close to Hancock tried to excuse his behaviour by saying that he kept officials up to date. Well, of course he did. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. He told his senior officials that he wanted Greensill to be given a contract involved in the payment of NHS workers. He had to, or how else was it going to happen? How were those officials going to give him the contract if he didn't tell them he wanted them to have the contract? Hancock doesn't sit at his desk writing out the contracts himself, you know. That doesn't excuse the behaviour at all. The justification for an awarding a contract, even one that ultimately doesn't go well, is supposed to be that at the time it represented an important public service and that the money was spent in the interest of best value for the taxpayer. And you can only do that by full transparency and making sure that that contract goes out to tender. They're not supposed to be awarded because the former Prime Minister gave you a few free drinks. Records have also been reported of direct contact between Cameron and Chancellor Rishi Sunak. Now, although it doesn't look like Cameron was successful as such, those records do seem to show that Sunak was putting himself out to try and sort something for him. He was telling his officials, can you do something for these guys? And I think that's what makes this scandal so big, apart from the fact it involves the former Prime Minister. It's that the company he was lobbying for must have been so clearly unsuitable, even by the low standards of Boris Johnson's government, so clearly unsuitable. Because this seems to be obvious after it took Cameron a lot of effort just to get a single contract, and he wanted several, albeit one that might have made him reportedly tens of millions, although we don't actually know, if the business hadn't gone bust. It was clear that even a Tory government, more than happy to throw away public money by the bucket load to friends and donors, wasn't that keen on sending it Greensill's way. How bad must he have been to have struggled so much to get his snout in the trough when he had the former Prime Minister in his corner? And this is a trough that is clearly wide open to anyone with the right contacts. You can't get a better contact than a former Prime Minister Etonian known personally to Boris Johnson, and also the former boss of the Health Secretary. Cameron was able to arrange private talks between Greensill and Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, Dido Harding, the equally useless head of basically the NHS in England now. Formal records of the lobbying seem to be a little bit scarce, with none at all for the meeting with Hancock, where no officials were present either, apparently. Now, to be clear, lobbying is supposed to be open and transparent. Officials are supposed to be present and records made. Yes, those records will not necessarily be made public anytime soon, but they need to be made for reference later. Those efforts did secure one contract, which had nothing to do with the pandemic, and so it shouldn't have been awarded, to my mind, by the emergency powers that mean contracts can be awarded without tender. It was awarded without the expected bidding process. Then there's what the contract was supposed to be for and what it was actually for. So according to the Times, it was intended as a free service to NHS staff to make receiving their wages more flexible. But the Times reported that senior employees at the company, or the former company now, said that the plan was actually to convert those advanced NHS payments into bonds and then sell them on the open market. But it went belly up when the firm went into administration recently. People are now asking how much David Cameron stood to personally gain from this, given that he had shares. Some people are saying tens of millions. There will now be an investigation. I wouldn't get your hopes up. It's not like Hancock's record was clean up until now and this is the thing that's going to trip him up. He has been embroiled in corruption after corruption during the pandemic, even been found to have acted unlawfully in court. Nothing has happened. It is a feature of Boris Johnson's government that they just brazen everything out. But it is an indicator of just how out of whack Johnson's government is from even conservative norms that the Times, which is a very pro-conservative newspaper, written from the point of view of the comfortable upper middle class, is writing about this as being of serious concern. I look at it and I struggle to see how this is worse than the billions that has been wasted by the government on goods that we didn't receive and services that failed hard. Goods and services that we needed. At least in this case, with the exception of one contract that could have been, extremely lucrative, Cameron largely failed to get what he wanted. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.